Chapter 62-65. King Kai brought Raditz to North Galaxy's training area. An uncountable number of fighters from North Galaxy appeared and greeted King Kai. Some had stayed in the other world for over 3,000 years. Some even for 5,000 years. There was also an Earthling named Olive. He was blonde and had a muscular body, wearing a white toga similar to those from Greece. He was immortalized and a mythological hero from 3,500 years ago on Earth. I never heard of this dude even though I've stayed on Earth for a few years now. Raditz lampooned in his mind. After chatting with all the fighters from North Galaxy, West Kai brought along East Kai and South Kai. They danced and sung North Kai has died. North Kai has died. What a happy occasion, in a celebratory mood. This is not a happy occasion. King Kai yelled angrily. West Kai was annoyed by King Kai's cheeky grin from earlier, so he brought East Kai and South Kai with him to put down King Kai. They decided to have a martial arts tournament to showcase their strongest fighters. West Kai believed East Kai and South Kai must have someone stronger than Raditz. And West Kai still believed Picken was stronger than Raditz, unless he sees Raditz defeat Picken with his own eyes. The tournament was a way for the four Kais to show off their strongest fighters. Having limitless lifespans, there was little for them to do after so many years. So they always like to have a tournament after the four of them meet up after so many years. There were only 4 King Kais in the other world. Even though they quarrel a lot, they weren't actually in a bad relationship with each other. Except that they always wanted themselves to be the best and show off to the other Kais. After West Kai brought everyone to report the idea of holding a tournament to Grand Kai. Grand Kai was also interested in the tournament and decided to teach lessons to the winner. Everyone was excited and cheered. I wonder if I'm careful and don't get disqualified, what will I learn from Grand Kai? Raditz pondered. In the anime, Grand Kai did everything to evade giving lessons to Goku and Picken. After flipping through that thick rulebook, he luckily found out that it was against the rules to step on the ceiling and disqualified both. From his actions, Raditz had little expectations for Grand Kai and even thought Grand Kai was really weak. Grand Kai brought everyone to a door in his palace. After opening it, a whole galaxy was contained inside the door. Numerous planets, asteroids, and star clusters were visible to everyone. Grand Kai decided to host the tournament in this galaxy he had in his palace. East Kai did not want Raditz, a newbie, to join the tournament. So they had to have a race first to be qualified. Raditz knew that Grand Kai will already be at the goal before they reach it, since that was how Grand Kai participated in their race and won the medal in the anime. Raditz was curious as to whether Grand Kai teleported there or fairly raced with them, so Raditz locked on Grand Kai's key right from the start and began racing. The race started. East Kai rode on a moped. Raditz simply kept a small lead over East Kai while focusing on Grand Kai's key. After they raced halfway, Raditz lost Grand Kai's key. Did he teleport over to the goal? Raditz focused his key senses to the goal, but did not sense Grand Kai's key. Raditz continued flying forward. When he was a few kilometers away from the goal, he suddenly felt something brush past him. Focusing his senses, he was stunned that it was Grand Kai's key. In a few moments, Grand Kai had sat above the goal. So fast. Although I doubt I'll lose if I become a Super Saiyan. But Grand Kai seems really leisure with such a speed. And I could barely sense his key. Just what was that? How does he move so quickly? Raditz pondered. But he did not slow down his steps. He quickly flew into goal before East Kai. Drats. I actually lost to a newbie. East Kai complained. Hi. Grand Kai greeted from above the goal post. Lord Grand Kai. East Kai hurriedly greeted. The winner is... Grand Kai looked at Raditz and pulled out a medal. Me. Grand Kai hung the medal on his mustache. Ah. East Kai was shocked, but gleeful. She would rather Grand Kai to win than Raditz. But of course, since Raditz beat East Kai, he was naturally qualified to participate in the Otherworld tournament. After choosing a big planet in the galaxy, the 4 Kais worked on building a big stadium. The mushroom announcer explained the rules. There will be 4 entrants from each galaxy. A total of 16 from the 4 galaxies, North, East, West, and South. The matches are one-on-one without any time limits. If any of these rules are broken, the entrants will automatically disqualify. 1. Falling out of the ring. 2. No crying. 3. Saying I give up. 4. Blinding strikes to the eyes, attacking critical areas, and other dirty attacks. And there were no worries about killing your opponents since everyone was dead. No one had to worry about dying. Raditz couldn't bother watching the other participants fight and started eating an all-you-can-eat meal. The dishes here do have some unique tastes. Not bad at all. Too bad though, they aren't as refined as Earth's cuisines. Raditz complained, but never stopped eating. Olive and Raditz were the only ones from North Galaxy to make it to the quarterfinals. Olive was unfortunate to meet Picken in the quarterfinals. Picken was still wearing his weighted clothes and fought a close battle against Olive. But from their ki levels emitted was a far cry from Cell's ki. Their ki levels didn't even reach 1 billion battle power. After fighting it out in the sky for some time, Picken slammed Olive out of the ring and won the fight. Picken wasn't even exhausted, it was obvious that he was still holding back. Raditz's opponent in his quarterfinal was Mareko, a pink dragon-looking anthropomorphic man. Raditz knocked him out of the ring with some efforts without transforming. From the looks of it, Picken was stronger than Raditz. Neither Picken nor West Kai knew that Raditz could transform. West Kai and King Kai started quarreling, both shouting that their fighter will win the final round. Feeling confident, West Kai made a bet with King Kai. If, by some slim chance, that Picken loses, I'll give you my West King Kai planet. West Kai had completely forgotten how Picken failed to take care of Cell, and it was Raditz who defeated Cell in the end. What? Your West King Kai planet? King Kai yelped in surprise. Shoo. So? If Raditz loses, what will you give me? West Kai hurriedly covered King Kai's mouth and whispered. All right. I'll give you my North King Kai planet. King Kai had a serious look when he suddenly thought, it's not there anymore, is it? Heh. Looks like you aren't confident. What? You don't have confidence? West Kai said smugly. King Kai, just agree. I won't lose. Raditz sent a mental message to King Kai. I might as well win back a King Kai planet for him. Raditz thought. Fine. I agree to the bet. King Kai said. The final match began. Raditz and Picken stood in front of each other on the arena. In order to not make any mistakes, Raditz did not intend to fool around. He started off as full power Super Saiyan. Raditz appeared in front of Picken and punched him up to the sky. Raditz followed up with a Kamehameha. Normally, the Kamehameha was enough to completely vaporize Picken, but since he was already dead, after the Kamehameha disappeared into the distance, Picken crashed down outside the arena. His body was fully charred and unconscious. Boom! The Kamehameha exploded far in the distance, but the force of the explosion shook numerous planets and stars. Rumble ** rumble. The whole stadium was shaking and cracking from the aftermath of Raditz's Kamehameha. Half of the audience fell from their seats to the ground. Those that stood and watched the battle fell down, some on their butts, others managed to land on their hands, but some unluckier ones fell on their heads. Ahahaha. Raditz won. Raditz won. King Kai danced happily. And no way. West Kai was dazed, he had just lost his West King Kai planet. With Raditz's power, I'll really embarrass myself. Grand Kai was flustered, he never expected this newcomer to be so terrifyingly strong. Everyone cheered excitedly. For the first time, Grand Kai was going to teach someone. Many people came down and congratulated Raditz. The great fanfare made Grand Kai feel even worse. He quickly asked Raditz to meet him in private and disappeared. King Kai was jumping in joy, he was no longer homeless. He won West Kai's planet. He was already planning to bring it to his former planet spot. West Kai was down on his hands and knees with a defeated look. Raditz went to meet Grand Kai in private. Grand Kai was walking in circles with a troubled look. Grand Kai obviously did not know what to teach Raditz. He doubted he could even beat Raditz. As if knowing Grand Kai's troubles, Raditz made a deal with Grand Kai. Raditz would become Grand Kai's disciple, and as for what he can teach him, it didn't matter much. Raditz was more interested in Grand Kai's authority. Considering how young Raditz was, his potentials were limitless. Posing as Grand Kai's disciple will earn everyone's respect. When Raditz showcases his strength, everyone will be in awe and praise Grand Kai's teachings. Both parties would benefit from this deal and were satisfied, they quickly closed the deal. Unfortunately, Grand Kai really didn't have any interesting skills to learn. The only thing that piqued Raditz's interest was Space Step, which Grand Kai had used to win the race before the tournament. The main thing about this skill was to step into space as if stepping into the water. Because his body was submerged in space, Raditz had a hard time sensing Grand Kai's ki. And once you were in space, you could manipulate the space to fold and take a step forward to leave the space. The technique was different from the legendary space folding step from the Chinese immortal cultivation world. Although you could also fold the space, this technique required the user to step into space and appear half submerged in space. But you could only take one step before you exited the space. That was also why Raditz managed to somehow sense Grand Kai's ki when he used that skill. The space step skill had limited use and could only fold the space a few times. Raditz saw his instant transmission much more useful. But he thought he could someday come up with a better spatial technique in the future if he amassed more spatial skills. Raditz spent 3 months learning space step and meditated in his free time. Even though he had his body reconstructed, his body still needed ample rest before he could start training his body again. After 3 months, Raditz's body felt much better. After using the phone called King Kai, Raditz contacted Piccolo and had him send over his stuff so he could begin to train again. King Kai and West Kai had managed to relocate the West Kai planet after 3 months of hard work. Once West Kai arrived on the spot where King Kai's planet used to be, West Kai felt cheated. "You didn't even have your planet to bet with." West Kai jumped and stamped his feet in anger. But there was nothing he could do, since the bet had already concluded. Using his status as Grand Kai's disciple, Raditz got some staff workers in Otherworld to locate Grand Elder Guru. Raditz had missed out on having his potentials unlocked, and since he was dead, he might as well try his luck to find him. It's not like he needed to put in any effort in searching anyway. After some time, Raditz got the good news. Grand Elder Guru had just entered the queue to get reincarnated and had not yet gotten reincarnated. Raditz hurried over to Grand Elder Guru and had his potentials unlocked. Endless ki raced through Raditz's body. His body, which had been unbalanced due to the sharp increase in body strength, had been lagging behind in the ki level. Now abundant ki coursed through Raditz's body and evened out the balance. Raditz also felt that his Super Saiyan transformation had some slight changes, but he couldn't figure out just what it was. Raditz spent 6 months training on Grand Kai's planet. He figured it was a good idea to plant the Tree of Might in Grand Kai's enclosed galaxy. There were endless planets and star clusters all uninhabited. The Tree of Might grew quickly due to the rich nourishment and bore fruits after a few days. Grand Kai also liked to munch on a few fruits from time to time. There were plenty of fruits growing on the tree anyway. Since he got his equipment back, Raditz spent some time doing gravity training, and the rest of his time was spent on training his Super Saiyan transformation. He also noticed the difference. After having his potentials unlocked, his Super Saiyan transformation took much less energy to maintain. In just 6 months, Raditz made great improvements. Maybe because he had seen firsthand how Gohan became a Super Saiyan 2, Raditz also managed to become a Super Saiyan 2. This feels different from half-power Super Saiyan. But the power amplification is the same, 100 times. Raditz muttered. A few sparse lightning arcs danced around his golden aura. When he tried to transition down to Super Saiyan, he felt his transformation was pulling down with him like some sticky jelly. What is going on? I confuse the two transformations? Raditz had the feeling that he could merge the two transformations. Let's try it then. He didn't have anything to lose. There was no harm in trying whatever his gut was telling him. Instead of pulling away the gluey feeling his Super Saiyan 2 transformation had, he helped pull along the transformation as he slowly transitioned down to his Super Saiyan state. Boom! A storm of ki blasted out and destroyed Raditz's courtyard and house. What dash? This is? Half-power Super Saiyan? Raditz had intended to go all the way down to his normal Super Saiyan state, but somehow he had ended up in his half-power Super Saiyan state. But the reason he was so shocked was that he felt no energy drain. This is amazing. Did I just master the Super Saiyan state? Raditz said gleefully. He quickly lowered the state to his normal Super Saiyan state. Wow! I could only keep this state for a few hours before, but now I can stay in this indefinitely. The same goes for half-power Super Saiyan. Raditz laughed. Then, let's try full-power Super Saiyan. Electricity danced and swam across Raditz's golden Super Saiyan aura. His ki exploded out and blasted away all the debris from having his house and courtyard destroyed. The sky changed colors and clouds gathered above Raditz's head. All the clouds disappeared as if they were sucked into a vacuum hole. Grand Kai's planet rumbled and shook. All the residents were shocked in panic. That ki! It's so immense! It's covering the whole planet. Ah! It feels familiar. It's Raditz's ki. Impossible. How can his ki be so overwhelmingly enormous? Incredible! To think that Raditz improved so much after training under Grand Kai for only 9 months. All the fighters were discussing and showed envious looks. Ah! Raditz! Be careful! Don't destroy my planet! Grand Kai complained from his palace. He had fallen on his butt and was rubbing his sore butt while holding onto the chair handle while the planet rumbled. I see. Even though I feel more familiar and experienced with my Super Saiyan transformation, I still haven't mastered full power. Looks like I need to merge my Super Saiyan 3 transformation first. But, considering my current stamina drain, I would say I can stay like this for 3 minutes? Raditz muttered. Maybe I can fuse even more transformations? What if I fuse? Super Saiyan God? Super Saiyan Blue? Ah. What about the Great Ape transformation? There is also Super Saiyan 4. After fusing with his Super Saiyan 2 transformation, Raditz suddenly felt more familiar and experienced with his Super Saiyan transformation. But the biggest benefit was to be able to use Super Saiyan 2 unlimited without any time restriction. Raditz didn't know how to gain God Ki and had no idea how to begin to become a Super Saiyan God. Instead, he decided to try out the Super Saiyan God ritual to feel and better understand God Ki. Maybe then will he understand what it is. Raditz was curious if he could fuse his Great Ape transformation, so he quickly made a power ball and had it explode and turn into an artificial moon. After transforming into a Great Ape, Raditz kept his consciousness. Using his earlier experience, he managed to merge the Great Ape transformation with his Super Saiyan transformation. After reverting back into his human form, Raditz transformed into a Super Saiyan. Let's see. Like this? After trying and testing a few times, Raditz managed to pull out the Great Ape transformation's power. Raditz's blonde hair turned black again. I still look normal? But I feel 10 times stronger. Raditz did not transform into a Great Ape, nor did his hair turn blonde like a Super Saiyan. Instead, he remained normal, but his battle power had become 10 times bigger. Let's try Super Saiyan. Raditz quickly transformed into a Super Saiyan. He wanted to see if he would gain another 50x amplification. But unfortunately, his total amplification did not increase to 500x. It only increased to 60x. The multipliers only added up together rather than multiply. Raditz continued doing gravity training and experimenting with his transformations. Sometimes he would pick a few fruits to eat. There were so many fruits growing all the time, so he did not need to worry about eating too many. A few months passed just like that. Raditz could feel his body becoming stronger. His full power Super Saiyan time limit had increased to 3 minutes. Raditz had also tried merging the Kaioken, but failed every time. Maybe his Super Saiyan transformation could only merge with other Saiyan transformations. Or the Kaioken was different since he could freely choose the output. How was he supposed to merge the Kaioken when it had no clear multiplier? It could be 2x, 3x, 10x, or even 100x. It just depends on what the user wants. Of course, the higher the multiplier, the harder it is to control, and the higher the requirements on one's body and ki control. It had been a year since Raditz died. Raditz had also eaten a few hundred fruits of Tree of Might, though it was unknown just how many fruits Grand Kai had eaten. Even right now, Raditz could see Grand Kai enjoying a fruit. Raditz had noticed that he could now transform into a Great Ape at will, although it was unnecessary since he can now just tap into its power without changing his body form. But its utility wasn't useless. Now, Raditz no longer needed to worry about himself involuntarily transforming into a 20-meter-tall gigantic Great Ape whenever he accidentally sees the full moon. Raditz had asked about the Supreme Kai and the whereabouts of the sacred world of Kai. But Grand Kai had no idea about either of them. The Supreme Kais had not appeared for a very, very long time. And their status were just too high for them to lower themselves and manage the other world, so it was normal for them to not appear here. As for the whereabouts of the sacred world of Kai, Grand Kai wasn't qualified to know nor visit that planet. But considering just how long ago since they last was seen by Grand Kai, Raditz blamed Bu for slaughtering all the Supreme Kais, leaving only the last Supreme Kai, Shin, who was huddling in the sacred world of Kai in fear. Raditz started focusing on the Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 4 transformations. Although he didn't know if he was able to transform into a Super Saiyan 4, since it had only appeared in the Dragon Ball GT world, it wouldn't hurt to try. The Bu saga would start 7 years after Cell was killed. Raditz had plenty of time now that his Super Saiyan transformation was get or better. Raditz was making some progress in his transformation towards Super Saiyan 3, although there was some differences with his full-power Super Saiyan state, it still helped Raditz move forward to his goal. Since Raditz could now freely transform into a great ape without the need of the full moon, Raditz had plenty of opportunities to become a great ape. But it was much harder than he thought to become a Super Saiyan while being a great ape. After several months of efforts, Raditz had no choice but to give up. Raditz planned to try again once he had mastered the Super Saiyan state. But what he did notice was that he could apply the Kaioken on his untransformed great ape state. He still looked just like his normal human self, but with 10 times his base battle power. And unlike when he applied his Super Saiyan transformation on top, the multiplier did not stack on top of each other and instead multiplied. Although it was easier for Raditz to apply the Kaioken with his human form than when he was a 20-meter-tall great ape, it was still harder than in his normal state. Raditz was able to achieve 10x Kaioken, but it only gave him a total of 100x multiplier, and maintaining the Kaioken was draining. It was much worse than just Super Saiyan 2. Raditz gave up the idea of using Kaioken, it just wasn't worth it, and neither was it worth him spending any more efforts on it. Raditz was more inclined to training his Super Saiyan 3 transformation. Focus was very important, he might not need perfect control over his body and energy, but he needed to bring out all the hidden energy deep inside his body. The Super Saiyan 3 relied on the user to bring out all the potentials hidden in their Saiyan bloodline. The energy was hidden deep inside his body, Raditz needed to find it and tap into the energy to transform into a Super Saiyan 3. Unfortunately, his full-power Super Saiyan did not require him to tap into the deep and hidden energy in his body. Raditz was grasping at straws. Considering that Buu Saga only started 7 years after Cell died, Raditz had plenty of time. The plan to purge his impurities in his spirit, which had been pushed back and postponed again and again, was finally brought forward. Raditz spent a year tempering his spirit and purging impurities. Since he was dead, Raditz thought it would not be as painful as when Elder Soma helped purge his impurities, but he was wrong. It still felt like stabbing his soul with thousands of needles, and plucking a small part of his soul with each needle. Well, even though he was dead, if his body got hurt, it was still painful. After a year of hard work, Raditz managed to remove 20% of his impurities, leaving only 30% left. But the less left, the harder it was to remove the remaining ones as they were mixed quite deep in his spirit. At first, with each grasp of his hand, it was as if he could grab a handful of shiny granules in the sand, but now, even after grabbing several handfuls of sand, he only managed to find a few shiny granules. Though the benefits were not little, Raditz felt an unprecedented calmness and serenity in his mind. His focus was enhanced, he became more tolerant and patient. Raditz began to enjoy the serenity from meditation. He even spent some time doing key meditation. Having spent 2 years away from his friends and family, Raditz missed everyone on Earth. Raditz decided to pay a visit to Earth. Raditz applied for a day's time in the living world. Because some of his merits of saving Earth had been used to negate his former sins, Raditz did not actually have enough merits to apply for a day's time in the living world. But using his identity as Grand Kai's disciple, it wasn't difficult for his application to be accepted. Although it was possible for Raditz to apply for several days. But that wasn't a normal application process and required higher-ranked officers to get involved. Maybe he could do it once, but it was difficult for him to abuse his authority once he catches the higher-ups' attention. That's why Raditz would rather apply one-day passes instead. The one-day pass was a routine application and only a few low-ranking staffs needed to stamp the application paper. These low-ranked staffs would not dare to reject Raditz's application. Raditz's application passed and he received a full day's worth of energy. Before he left for Earth, Raditz quickly packed a large number of fruits of Tree of Might. After saying goodbye to a few friendly fighters he had trained with, and also the Grand Kai and King Kai, he simply teleported to Earth. Hey! Raditz appeared in the kitchen and greeted by raising his hand. The Sun family was having breakfast. Blah! Chi-Chi had just put a mouthful of rice in her mouth, was so shocked by Raditz's sudden appearance, spat it all out and covered Goku's face, who just happened to sit on the opposite side of the table. Big brother! Goku did not mind the rice, he raised both his hands and gathered the rice on his face before eating it all. Goku then stood up and walked up to Raditz before giving him a big hug with a smile. Goku! Raditz smiled and hugged back. It had been 2 years since he had last seen Goku, and he missed him too. Uncle Raditz! Gohan also ran up to Raditz and gave him a hug. But unlike Goku, who had a mouthful of rice, was still chewing his food while hugging Raditz. Gohan was well-mannered and swallowed the food in his mouth before he came forward and hugged Raditz. Brother-in-law, aren't you dead? Or did someone summon Shinran and wish you back to life? Chi-Chi was confused. No one had said anything about Raditz coming back to life. But she still came up to Raditz and greeted him. That's right, big brother. I don't remember seeing the sky turning dark since last time we summoned Shinran at Kami's lookout. Goku nodded. Oh, that? I'm still dead. Look, I got a halo over my head. Raditz pointed at the yellow halo floating above his head. Huh? You're still dead? Chi-Chi was shocked, only now did she notice the halo above Raditz's head. Raditz's sudden appearance had shocked her too much to have noticed the halo above his head. Raditz. Since you could come to visit Earth, why didn't you come earlier? Chi-Chi seemingly thought of something and turned angry. What? Why? Raditz was shocked by Chi-Chi's change of attitude. Come earlier? Did something happen? What could have happened that even Goku, Piccolo and Gohan were unable to take care of? Now, Raditz was getting worried. Why did you skip instructing in the dojo? Chi-Chi shouted. $# and %. So that's what she's angry about. Raditz cursed in his mind. Why did he even bother to worry? Raditz was afraid Chi-Chi would force him to waste his time instructing in the dojo, took his time to thoroughly explain that he only managed to get 1 day's time in the living world. Only then did Chi-Chi let him go and not force him to waste his only day in the living world on instructing. Raditz sat down and ate breakfast with Goku, Gohan and Chi-Chi. They told him what had happened ever since he died. The Sun Family Dojo's popularity exploded after the Z-Team fought Cell in Cell tournament. But what really made Sun Family Dojo reach the heavens in one bound was Raditz's sacrifice, which had saved Earth from Cell's self-destruction, which would have exploded the whole Earth to cosmic dust. In order to not forget Raditz's heroic sacrifice, King Furry had even made a city to commemorate Raditz. He had originally intended to build the city next to Goku's home and dojo, but there was just way too many scary monsters and dinosaurs around here in Mt. Paozu. Even if the city was built, next to no one would dare to settle down in the city in Mt. Paozu. In the end, King Furry found the prime location to build the city. It was about 1,000 kilometers away from their home. The city was named Raditz City. Raditz felt amused. What would originally be named Satan City had now been named Raditz City. The city was still in its construction stage, although some parts of the city had already finished building. It was considered quite small as of now. Only after another year or two would they actually finish building the whole city, which would by then be no lesser than even the capital city. This was how much respect and sincerity King Furry was showing Raditz, who had already passed away. And he naturally did not know of the afterlife of the dead or the heroes who died while saving their world. Even though Mt. Paozu did not have any villages before, after so many new members joined their family dojo, they had now built a small village around the dojo. The dojo had also expanded a few times during these 2 years Raditz had been in the other world. Right, where is Mother? Raditz wondered. Since the whole family was sitting down and eating breakfast, shouldn't Jine also be here with them? Oh, Mom. She already ate breakfast. Ever since you died, she has started training seriously. Goku said. The rest of the family pitched in and explained. Even though they tried to make it sound less serious, Raditz could already tell that Jine had been devastated after learning of Raditz's death. For many days, she had been depressed. Every day, she would sit next to the river and hug her knees in sorrow. But, when she saw so many weak and harmless humans flock over from the cities they lived in peace, to give up their free and comfortable lives, and willingly throw themselves into the fire to temper their bodies and become stronger. Every day, the dojo members would carry heavy weights and run around the mountains and sweat buckets. Work hours on perfecting their martial arts. The determination in their eyes were so brilliant. The hundreds of dojo members' sweat and blood washed away her depression and even brought out her determination. Nowadays, she was training strenuously to become stronger. She did not want to Goku or Gohan. She did not know if she could ever become a Super Saiyan, but she was determined to become stronger. She did not want to wait and pray for her children and grandchildren's safety. She did not want to leave their lives up to fate's whimsical fickleness. Even though she knew that Raditz was doing fine in the other world, there was still a big difference between the living and the dead. Maybe, if Raditz had not chosen to stay dead, would she not have been depressed and changed? Raditz did not know if the changes of Jine was good or bad. Raditz had a complicated face and decided to look for Jine after breakfast. Raditz gifted some fruits of Tree of Might to Chi-Chi. These fruits had little use for Goku and Gohan with their current power. Unless they were to indulge on thousands of fruits every day. Chi-Chi took a bite and felt an overwhelming amount of energy wash over her body. When she came to, she felt more energized, her skin was rosy red and glowed. Her skin, which had started gathering a few wrinkles, had magically disappeared. She looked younger and full of youth. Chi-Chi jumped in joy after seeing her new appearance in the mirror. She was so happy she hugged Raditz and kissed him on the cheek. She hurriedly ran back to the kitchen and carefully stored the remaining fruits as if they were fragile paper-thin diamonds that would break from the slightest shock. Raditz let her be and walked out of the house. He sensed for Jine's key and found her training in his training room. Well, it wasn't weird. Raditz's training room was very comprehensive and covered almost every training area. There were also several maid droids that took care of the maintenance of the training room and would also help bring him to a rejuvenation tank if he were to get too injured to move or even fall unconscious. The maid droids would also bring food and remind him when it was time to eat and rest, so he wouldn't overtrain and regress instead of improving. Will she still be as gentle and kind as before? Raditz wondered just how much Jine's personality had changed. With a light sigh, Raditz raised his foot and took a step forward. He started walking to his training room that he had not seen for 2 whole years. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon at https://www.patreon.com/Kaioshin. I tend to polls that decide important plot stuff in my P at Trian. Many thanks to my awesome patrons. Ben Phillips.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.